Welcome to Tanakh Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live from Kingsland, Texas, USA, with another episode of the How and Wow of Hebrew with Gavriel Aryeh Sanders as your teacher, and me as his fun-loving co-host. We do try.
Who keeps kicking me in the side? So, dear brother William.
I was going to say, that's not a fun sidekick, one that keeps kicking you in the side.
No. By the way, our starting time is really significant because it just rolled over on the clock here. For me, I'm in the East Coast. You're in the middle of nowhere.
6:13.
And it was 6:13.
How about that?
Which is very, very significant for everybody.
How about that? Very nice.
And so I see you very nicely, and you see me.
I do. Yes, sir.
I feel that this is like the romper room, and I see William, and I see Deanna, and I see Christo, I see Gavriel. Are you old enough to remember romper room?
I know the name or the phrase. I don't know what it means though, or what it's associated with.
It was a kid's kind of morning program or whatever.
Okay.
But and you have to be over 55 probably to have any hint of that. So I watched a YouTube video recently from 1954.
Wow.
It was very serious. It was about how to use a dial telephone.
That's funny. It
was really hysterical.
I saw a Facebook meme showing, well, it was just a photograph. It showed these kids they were holding a cassette player, like the old, right? And they were looking at it, and they had the tape in one hand, the cassette in the other, and they had them like both of them. They're like, what do I do with this? They had no clue.
Right.
Right.
Somebody also did a program, a news segment on. They put out a number of different things from 50s, 60s, 70s, different electronic things, and tried to get some girl who was probably barely born in this millennium to try to figure out what they were for. It was hysterical.
How about that?
Like, how was she trying to use a telephone? Anyway, if we can ever find it, it's worth looking at. Anyway, we are kind of deep into this whole Corona thing.
Yes.
And how's by you? Everything okay? Everyone all right?
So far, so good. Indeed.
Baruch Hashem, good.
Yes, sir.
So I'm in New York. New York currently has the largest number of cases. I don't know if it's 12,000.
Wow,
a lot.
That's too bad.
A lot of them are in the city. The city is once again ground zero for this here.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But there are a lot of other good things going on. So here's your cue. It's coming now. What's new, William?
You have to forgive me. I totally spaced out. I don't know.
Let's try that again here.
Okay.
Live radio, live internet. What's new, William?
I don't remember what the answer was.
Well, I'll help you out here.
Yeah,
okay?
Please do. I'm sorry.
What's new? Follow the pointer. What's new is the 13th letter of the Greek alphabet.
Right. There we go.
I don't know if you knew that. So now you do. So you can go down the row here. 6 letters. It's the first of the third line here.
How
new
about
is
that?
the 13th letter of the Greek. Now, when anybody ever asks you what's new, you can give them a very good academic answer. Don't you feel good about that now?
That's pretty cool. I remember that now. How about that?
You have been formally educated.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
It's also a Hebrew word, actually really a Yiddish term, new.
Okay.
Oftentimes you hear Jews say new. It's not said like new. It's said like new. There's almost
like
a
a
little
blunt,
kind of behind the nose a little bit new.
Right.
And it means like okay, what? Yeah. So it doesn't mean what. It means more like new. So what's next? What now? What? What's going to happen here?
Okay.
And it really helps to use the hands. Nu.
Gotcha.
Nu. So just a little, the kinesthetics of linguistics, whatever that is.
Okay.
So today we're going to first of all, I'd like just one quick recommendation. This is not so much on what to read as to learning to read. I've had some people ask me, do you know a good place I can quickly learn how to read the letters and the vowel points? And I like to recommend this one. There are a couple different options that I like. This is certainly a good one. You go to a website called HaUlpan, and here are 5 quick URLs, 5 quick lessons. They're about maybe 5 or 6 minutes apiece. So you can, and there's a quiz you can take there just to kind of test your proficiency. So if you're looking to make sure that you've really got this sort of prerequisite to Hebrew learning down, at least to be able to read it in the Hebrew itself, the Ivrit, then here it is, and you can do that. Okay, so and we'll move on from there. Oh, how'd that get in there? That's from like last time. Ken, and he cool. Yeah,
It does look cool.
I wanted to start also with kind of an oops, because in our last session it was pre-Purim. It was exactly 2 weeks ago, and I had mentioned that in the book of Esther is structured like a chiasm. And anybody who's not sure what a chiasm is, it's a kind of parallelism called Hakbalah in Hebrew, not Kabbalah, but Hakbalah, I mean, things kind of running parallel. And this is a structure that where something comes down to a nexus point and then goes back up. And I mentioned that the book of Esther, actually, Rabbi Foreman, David Foreman talks a lot about this at alepbeta.org. And by the way, all the content at alepbeta.org, while we're in this parenthesis of Corona, is all his content's free. So if you're interested in Passover content in particular, he's got just hundreds of excellent videos there. Some of them very short, some of them very long. So the $9 a month subscription has been suspended. But anyway, I just wanted to fix this one because I had talked about King Ahasuerus. I said he had a dream and that was the turning point, but it's just the opposite. He couldn't sleep that night. And so he got his couple of his servants to read out to him the book of Chronicles, not the biblical book of Chronicles, but the chronicles of events in the kingdom of Shushan. And they came across the part where Mordechai had done something special for the king. And so that's where he ordered the royal procession, and Haman had to lead him down the street, etc. Anyway, I just wanted to correct that because anybody with half an ounce of literacy in the book of Esther would have noted I made that mistake.
Okay.
And I want to go public and say, I sinned. Oh, no. Okay. Moving on.
Okay.
I want to do a little feature with us here in this segment called Eshkol HaIvrit. Eshkol HaIvrit means an eshkol. Well, there's a picture of one right there. Mm-hmm, it's right. A cluster, like a cluster of grapes. And obviously, so this is a cluster of Hebrew. But some people might not know that it's a little kind of history of Israel, modern Israel history, trivia, that Levi Eshkol was the Rosh HaMemshalah HaShlishi, the third prime minister of the state of Israel from 1963 until he passed away of a myocardial infarction. I think it was he had a heart attack. But he was actually the prime minister at the time of the 6 Day War. Most people would think it's Golda Meir, but it was him. So he was quite an interesting person, and if you haven't read up on that chapter of Israeli history, it's most interesting. So, but that's a faded part of history, and we'll let him fade away here. One of the most interesting features about Hebrew is a system that's known as the Shoresh or Shorashim. Now, you can see me clearly here. If I hold up this book, can you see this book? Does it come out correctly?
Yes, sir. Hang on. Keep it right there and hold it steady. There you go. Very good.
Okay, here's the other side of it, by the way.
Okay, just hold it steady for a minute. There we go. Hebrew English word list. Very good.
Right. So this book was printed in 1981, and I bought it in 1981 when I was living in Jerusalem. Nice. So it's an amazing book. I don't if you can find it out there. I think I saw 1 or 2 copies on eBay or something. But it's a great book because it clusters words together by their shoresh. And when we say shoresh, that's the Hebrew word for the word root. And today, the title of our program is What's New? And we're going to take a look at the root of the word chadash. Okay. Chet, dalet, shin. So this is one of the first things that most people learning Hebrew learn to say is ma chadash. Israelis say this all the time. Nu ma chadash. They'll often throw in there nu ma chadash. So what's new? And or ma chadashot. Ma ha chadashot. Chadashot is news. As you can see, the ending right here, the vav and the taf, which often represents feminine plural. And so we use the word chadashot to imply the news. Is there news? Yesh chadashot? You often hear people say that. Yesh Chadashot. And somebody will say, no, Ein Chadashot. We're going to do a little more expansion on that when we look at the sage advice in a moment. The Hebrew word month for month, Chodesh, comes from the word Chadash, new. Why? Because what do we have at the beginning of every Hebrew month? We have a new moon. And so Chodesh and Chadash are linked together because each month begins with a new moon. And this week that we're in right now, the week of March, this is March 23rd, we're making this program. And by the way, I just remembered today, it's been 14 years since the passing of my own father.
Oh, wow. Sorry to hear.
Deep down in Georgia. So I just wanted to remember William Joseph Allison and my grandfather, whose name was also Mark Alva. I'm named after him. Okay. Not the Alva part, but Mark. Right. Anyway, just a little things here. So this week, starting Wednesday night, is the beginning of the month of Nisan, to be followed by the month of Toyota. No. But it's pronounced exactly the same as the Japanese car, the month of Nisan. The names of the Hebrew months, by the way, are a legacy, a residue, I guess you could call it, a vestige, maybe that's a better English word, a vestige of the months that were brought back when the 40,000 or so came back through Ezra and Nehemiah or Ezra and Nehemiah. They used those months as part of the dating system. That reminds them of the galut, the dispersion that they were in. So Nisan is one of, we have four, we've talked about this before when we talked about Tu B'Shvat. There are 4 New Years in the Jewish calendar. You say, why would there be 4 New Years? Well, we have more than one year dating system or overlap in the civil in civil calendar measuring. We have a school year and we have a fiscal year and we have the calendar year from January to the end of December. So and there are other ways of marking a 12-month period. So Judaism has Nisan as the first. It was the month for the kings when we started dating, like when this king reigned from this year to that year. The dating of that year would begin in Nisan. Official documents were started from the month of Nisan forward. So even though something would be within the same 3-month period or whatever, it really could be counted as another year. Also, the trees were there's some agricultural products that were counted that way. So the month of Chodesh, and we are coming up on a Rosh Chodesh. So when we talk about a new month, it's known as not Chodesh Chadash, and like a new month, we call it Rosh Chodesh, which Rosh means head. So we wish somebody at this week Chodesh Tov. So on Wednesday evening, we won't be gathering in our synagogues, of course, but on phone communications and in Zoom conferences all over the place, which those of us in education are doing, we'll wish each other Chodesh Tov, a good month. So I'd like to wish you and all of the members, all viewers of Tanakh Talk this week. Tanakh Talk. See, I did it. It's so hard for me to do Tanakh. A wonderful Chodesh Tov. Lechadesh is a verb, and actually I see that my vowel pointing program, I made an error. It should have 2 dots under this, a shva. So forgive me, it should have 2 vertical dots here. It's not lechadesh, it's lechadesh. But it's to make new or to renew something. If I talk about, for example, lechadesh et manui, to renew my subscription. A chidush is a novelty or a novel thought. We often use this word, by the way, when we talk about someone has a chidush on the Torah. A chidush is like somebody has a fresh, unique thought that they came up with that relates to something that may not have been said, or it might be something that's a chidush for them. It might be written someplace else and they don't know about it. But a chidush is, if I say, Yeshli chidush b'Parsha, I have a chidush on this week's Parsha. To be renewed is an interesting concept, lehit chadesh, to be renewed. And if someone in Israel buys a new article of clothing, for example, we say to that person, tit chadesh, may you be renewed in the new purchase that you made. So for a guy, I'll say to him, tit chadesh. So William, tit chadesh. To your wife, if she bought a new article of clothing, we might say, tit chadshi. And if both of you were wearing new clothing, like when this happens, certainly for Pesach, most people have some new article of clothing, we say tit chadshu, be renewed. so that the outside should have something to do with making you new also on the inside. So
is the root word taknesh or tiktadesh?
The root is from here. So let's do a little quick grammar thing.
Oh, yeah. I see what
we've alluded before to the fact that Hebrew. I like to think of the Hebrew verb system as an apartment building with 7 floors.
Okay.
And in Hebrew, the word is binyan. The Hebrew verb system is called habinyanim, the buildings.
Okay.
But I've actually represented it in one teaching format as a 7-story building. And on each floor, there lives a family that represents a type of action. So for those of you that are a little bit familiar with Hebrew verb structures, I'll just want to say that there are essentially 7 types of action, or the way action is viewed in Hebrew. And then you have what's known as passive and active. 3 of the 7 are active. 3 of them are passive. In other words, something's inactive. We mean somebody's doing something to somebody, or something. And in passive, something's being this. I'll give you a good example. Let's pick on William, for example. William broke the cup.
Okay.
The cup was broken by William. So in the first sentence, the cup is in the object position and it received the action of being broken. In the second sentence, what's emphasized here is the cup was broken. And do we need to know who did it? Yeah, let's go ahead and tattle. It was William. William did it. Mm-hmm. The cup was broken by William. And then the 7th category is actually what this is. It took me a long time to get to this. Lahit chadesh, like lahit raot, and many, many other Hebrew words that have this music to it. Lahit, or in the future here, tit chadesh, tit chachi. This is the penthouse of that 7-story building, the Hitpael family that lives up there. And as I said, the verbs, these are broken down by types of action, the way we view the action. Those are the 7 categories. And then there are strong words and weak verbs. What makes them strong? The letters. There are strong letters and there are weak letters. The weak letters mostly consist of letters that are generated in the throat, like an aleph or an ayin or a het, and hey also. And so yud and nun can sometimes do some funky things, but that's enough on that. I don't want to get too deep in that. What I do want to talk about is where we see this, a very familiar phrase that's everybody will know in English because they've said it all the time as we segue into sage advice, Pidgam HaShavua, the saying of the week. And the source of that comes from Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9. And it reads, Mashahaya Sheyihyeh. Mashahaya, let me back up here. I'm getting ahead of myself on my other screen down here. Mashahaya, hu sheyihyeh. And by the way, this letter here, the shin here, there are several letters, and I use the 2 names, Moshe v'Kaleb, Caleb. Moshe v'Kaleb, as each of those letters are letters that can affix to the front of a word and affect the meaning of the word. So this letter shin can sit on the front of a word, and it means that. So, ma shahaya, and it comes out what that was. Who, now you know the word who, and it means what usually?
He.
He.
Yeah.
But how do you say it in Hebrew? Well, there is no neutral.
Zeh is closest that you can get to, right?
Right. Zeh is the closest you can get, but also who and he can also mean it. I subjected my students to a test recently on pronouns, and we didn't study that part well enough, so bad on me. So mashahaya hu sheyihyeh, that which was is what will be. And it goes on to say in the next phrase, mashanasa hu sheyeaseh. Then these are passive, by the way. The nasa means what was done, that which was done. It will be done, yeaseh. This is from the Nifal family, actually, for those of you that know anything about the Binyanim. It's the passive form of the active pa'al, but who cares, right? And this is the phrase I wanted to get to. This is the Pidgam HaShavua that everybody knows. Ein kol chadash tachat hashamesh. Or in modern Hebrew they say, Ein kol chadash tachat hashemesh. You may have heard this before, seen this before. Okay, there isn't any new or anything new under the sun, to which my father-in-law, blessed memory, used to say, in fact, oddly enough, today was his birthday. He used to say, Ein kol chadash tachat hashemesh. Nu, he would say, Nu, ma'im hayireach. What about the moon? So is there anything new under the moon? And I never had a good answer for that one. So, Ein kol chadash tachat hashemesh, or shamesh. And by the way, again, for those of you that are into biblical Hebrew, or you're wondering kind of why doesn't it say shemesh, why does it say shamish here? Decades ago when I was attending an adjunct class at Fuller Seminary in Pasadena, California, with old Dr. Paul Gabeline. And Dr. Gabeline was one of the Hebrew scholars on the faculty. So I did a class of readings with him, and I'd actually go to his home in Santa Monica, down on the beach there in California, and we would sit and read. And so he would always talk about this pausal accent at the end of a phrase. And that's what this is. That little line that's right there is not a vowel. It's an accent mark to say it's not shemesh, it's shamish. And that's part of the poetry of biblical Hebrew. And you see those, actually on this particular pasuk, this particular passage, I went through and cleaned out most of the extraneous accent marks. This happens to be one. There's a couple others I left in there, but this is one for a purpose. So what I'd like to do is, as we kind of actually migrate toward the end of this segment, we're keeping this a little shorter today, is I'd like to introduce everybody to a song, a very popular song, a very positive song. Especially, I thought it's appropriate for the season that all of us are going through with the uncertainty of the coronavirus around the world, and what should our focus be. I know in our own home, my wife and I, we both decided just to be as positive, besides staying indoors pretty much all the time, we're trying to be as positive as we can. It'd be so easy to slip into something negative. Did you hear about so-and-so? Did you hear about who got it?
Right.
We don't want that. We want to keep our home as positive as possible, because now where you and I come from back in the old days, right? We used to say, I may not know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow, right?
Yeah, right. There you go. Heck yeah, right on.
So this song I'd like to share with you, and we'll actually cue it up on YouTube here in a minute. It goes like this. Masha haya, haya. Because this over here in Kohelet, in Ecclesiastes, I don't know if you ever, I'm sure you've read through it and have thought to yourself sometimes, boy, King Solomon seems to be a little fatalistic here, doesn't he? In his language. And he wrote, King Solomon, or Shlomo Melech, wrote 3 of the books in Tanakh. There was Song of Solomon, which is attributed to him in his youth. And there's the book of Proverbs, Sefer Mishlei, which is attributed to him in midlife. It's very, very practical, a lot of what we call musar, or wisdom for ethical conduct. And then Kohelet, or the Ecclesiastes, which means the preacher, was later in life. So he's kind of looking back, and based on the fact that he had 1,000 wives, I know Rabbi, the singer, did an interesting video with you on that particular subject. Then, there were a lot of things that he had to deal with. And so he had an interesting, sobering view of things. And we're in a time that's kind of sobering. But let's see if we can get some light, shed some light on the subject through this very simple song. Masha haya, haya. Oops, let me go back this way. And we're reading from right to left. What that was. Ha'ikar latchil me'atchala. The main thing, reading from right to left on the English, the main thing is to begin. Now, there is no word in Hebrew for is. We have past, like haya, this word up here, haya, and we have yihye over here, will be, it will be, and he was or it was, but we don't have is in Hebrew, what's called a copula. It doesn't exist. So literally we're saying the main thing to begin from the beginning. So ha'ikar lehatchil me'atchala. And these, of course, are obviously related words. Masha haya haya. Masha haya haya. And press there. Okay. Ha'ikar, the main thing. Lo lefached klal. And this is a hint to something that Rabbi Nachman of Breslov said. Ha'ikar lo lefached klal. Rabbi Nachman composed the phrase that's been translated into or turned into a song. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar. All the world is a narrow bridge. V'ha'ikar lo lefached klal. The main thing while we're journeying through this life is lo lefached klal, not to fear at all, which is a pretty tall order, by the way, because there's so many different things that can disturb us and make us disquieted and unsettled. But this is like the challenge of emunah, the challenge of faith, is to focus on what the main thing is and what the source is. And so the song goes on in the latter part of it. Abba, speaking to Hashem as our Father, Abba, tehazek oti lagamre. Strengthen me completely. Tehazek oti lagamre. Now, I just pronounced that word twice in one way and a different way. So the letter het, the Ashkenazi Jews pronounce this ch, just as with the letter chaf, which is, right. Looks like this one here, this without the dot. This is ch, and this is ch. They make no distinction between them. But the Eastern, and I don't mean Eastern European, the Edot Mizrach, the Jews from Arab countries, the Middle Eastern Jews, make a distinction between this, as does the Arabic language. Tehazekoti. Tehazekoti lagamri. And we've talked about this letter before.
Right.
And the last line in this is Tadlik li et hanshama. Tadlik li, which means ignite or light. Tadlik li, for me or for me or to me. Tadlik li et hanshama. This word et also, by the way, is untranslatable. Right. It simply is a marker for a direct object. In other words, I read the book. And so in Hebrew it would be, I read et habuk. I read et the book. So that's just, you'll see it a lot. It takes a lot of people time to right. get it together. And by the word OT and the whole family of object pronouns that come from this, me, him, her, us, them, as opposed to the subject pronouns of I, we, they, he, her, he, she. Sorry. The object pronouns are derived from et. All of them have these two letters within them, with something sometimes in the middle here and something definitely on the end in most cases. So I'm giving you a lot more maybe grammar than you're looking to, but if you hear this stuff enough, it starts to congeal after a while. And then seeing it in context of like songs, probably one of the greatest tools that I used in my own journey toward facility or in some functional proficiency with Hebrew was to learn songs, especially nice short ones like this one. So Tadlikli et hanshama. And notice, by the way, how I'm saying it. I'm not saying et haneshama, et haneshama. Neshama, of course, is the soul. There are different words in neshama and ruach, spirit, etc. So once again, let's just walk through the Hebrew. Ma shehaya haya, ha'ikar, להתחיל מההתחלה. מה שהיה היה, העיקר לא לפחד כלל. אבא, תחזק אותי לגמרי, תדליק לי את הנשמה. And then it repeats those two lines there. Okay. So do you want to cue that up?
Sure. Sounds like a plan. Here we go.
And by the way, just to the viewers, you will see the words without the vowel points. But you'll see the words without the vowel points going across the screen, so it's a little easier to kind of remind yourself. And I suggest, something, an exercise for one's soul this week, for one's encouragement, to learn this little song. And there are bits and pieces from Israel put together. You'll see a guy on a stage with kind of blondish hair getting his ponytail cut off, right. What we call in Hebrew a cuckoo. And he's having his cuckoo removed because he's becoming a Baal Tshuva. He's deciding he's going to let go of the kind of hippy-dippy life that he had. And you see another parallel picture with him having become, I guess, a yeshiva student.
Right.
And you see women also. There's a woman holding a baby. There's a picture of her beforehand. So kind of exciting to see Abba giving strength to them completely.
Nice.
Okay, Mr. Music, it's up to you.
Okay, let's get this baby over here. Oh, I got it on mute. 1 second here. That means I got to start it over. Wait for it. There you go. Mute off and play. That's funny.
Okay, we can fade that down. Thank you very much. I was noticing as I was watching that on my iPad over here that there's kind of a little bit of a lag between
there is
the
about 15 seconds.
Now, I don't know if it's that way from what I'm hearing here. Oh, it must be, right?
It is. It's actually my transmission.
I'm hearing studio live, right?
Right. Yep, exactly. Yep.
Okay. Well,
so that's good. What I'll do is I'll put a link in the video description below to this actual song, and if you guys want a neat way of using YouTube in this particular idea is to click the gear icon. When you pull the video up, click the gear icon, and it'll allow you to change the speed of the song. So you could slow it down a little bit, or whatever the case may be, and then you can just replay it as much as you want. So, or you can just do the same thing to this video if you like. So, very good.
Great. So I just dropped into the chat room. Okay. And I saw Deanna's comment about romper room.
Oh,
so, okay. So I saw Krista there as well. So hi guys, it was a pleasure to spend a little time with you, almost an hour last night, as we had our first kind of an intro to the Hebrew class that's forming. We pretty much decided that I'm just going to do one level right now. That seems to be common to everybody. It's a class that we're teaching in Hebrew. Of course it is, but I don't mean it's not a class about Hebrew. That's what we're doing here is more like a magazine that covers a lot of different topic areas and resources and features. That's why we have, for example, Eshkol HaYivrit, and we have Pitkam HaShavua through Sage Advice. But this is really to do as much as we can in Hebrew, using stories, songs, humor, gestures, cognates. We did some of that last night. And it's a natural bridge to Hebrew. And also we want to kind of bring in texts as well, like to have some kind of a text that we're learning each week that we're focusing on maybe as a memory text. I don't want to take people back to Navigators if people remember that, but it's not dissimilar in the sense of being able to hang on to a text. We might learn, for example, the shortest psalm, 117 would be a very easy one to learn, has some good terms in it that we want to hold on to. When we talked about 40 minutes, I think 45 we can probably work, and there'll be archive review. Small classes, we've got about 7-8 people right now that have expressed some interest. I'm looking for a couple more, maybe up to a dozen. And probably $10 a person. We might, I don't know if we can do twice a week. We definitely can do once a week. And since it'll be archived and we can kind of frame it out over time, then I think that people will be comfortable using one live session for learning and then using some time during the week to do some refreshment in the video review. So the prerequisite for this Kita Aleph, which means the Aleph level, first level class, is to be able to read the letters and the vowel points. I gave you at the beginning of the program a place that you can go and refresh yourself in that, or to go get it for the first time if you don't have it. So you'll be able to do that. And then, of course, you can reach out to me at GavrielSanders@gmail.com. And I'm noticing, by the way, that what I'm putting on the screen is not on the screen. Is that happening from your side?
You know what? I didn't even know you had that up there. I've got you on 2 different monitors, so unless you you'll have to tell me to switch screens sometimes. Sorry.
Well, Mr. Music.
Let's get this. Right. Sorry about that. Well, we actually came across this whole new way of doing things, which is making it easier. Except sometimes making things easier might get you lazy as well. So maybe it made me lazy in this particular scenario. So okay, I'll put it back up for you. Sorry about that.
So if you're interested in joining with us for that class, then all you got to do is just send me an email at GavrielSanders@gmail.com, Gavriel Sanders@gmail.com, and just say, hey, save me a seat. Okay, I'm interested. And I'd like to actually get going, Mitzvah Hashem, God willing, this next Sunday night. I'd like to get started before Passover. And we can do a little bit of work on Passover itself, maybe talk a little bit about the Haggadah. Nice. And I think that's it. Do you have any comments or questions?
No.
I asked in the chat if there were any comments or questions, and Christo said there weren't any in this class, so okay.
No, I'm good to go. Just to let you guys know, too, I've got a little video ad that goes on the end of these videos now, and so you'll see about a 3-minute video on the exit. So, but Gavriel, thank you, brother. I appreciate all your work and your
my pleasure.
Amazing stuff you do, and I just want to say thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. You're an awesome dude.
Well, I just want to say, not for any self-accolades here, but it really takes time to pull these things together, and to provide some kind of visual choreography to make this lay out. It's half an afternoon's work if I know what I'm doing. So
right. That's hard work, I can tell. I mean, even the amount of time you spent while we were trying to set up, you were still not finished yet. And I know you'd been working on it for quite some time already. And so we kind of finished up just in time for us to kind of get kicked off close to the hour.
At 6:13.
A lot of work. At 6:13. So, yeah, definitely a lot of work goes in this stuff. Good job, my man, for sure.
Okay, just remember that Masha Haya, and what was, mm-hmm. And that we're focusing on what Avinu Shebashamayim, what Hashem, our Father in heaven, can do with and for us, and that we're not going through this thing just haphazardly. There's a big overarching purpose in all of this, and we'll get there. We'll find it. And so stay well, stay healthy, stay inside, help each other. Let's encourage each other any way we can. And if there's anything I can do for anybody just in terms of encouragement, you're certainly welcome to drop me a line. Thanks
Fantastic.
So much.
Thank you, brother.
Take it away.
Shalom, everybody.
Shalom. Bye-bye.
Have you been questioning what is actually written in your New Testament? Are you tired of getting the same old responses when you ask your pastor or preacher questions about things that just don't add up? If you're like me, the most popular answers I always get are, sometimes you just have to have faith, or some things just can't be explained. Well, I'm here to tell you that everything can be explained. Here are 4 good resources that will help you get a better understanding of what the Hebrew Scriptures, also known as the Old Testament, actually teaches, and why it is that the New Testament just does not seem to match.
Revealing Matthew's Secrets by Jason LaCrosse. Leaving Jesus by James Wood Jr. Judaism and Christianity, A Contrast by Rabbi Stuart Federow. Let's Get Biblical, 2-volume book set by Rabbi Tovia Singer.
If you or anyone you know would benefit from these resources, please share this video link with your friends and family and help spread the one true light.
This advertisement has been sponsored by an anonymous donor. All these resources can be found in links below the video.
Te